doing, Ricky? Ricky.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I'm not as successful as him. So.
You're smart at it, like
Yeah, that's true.
Huh? Been wearing my glasses and then my seeing eye dog.
I tell you what, I'm getting to where I need glasses. I find myself doing this more and more. Either my arms shrinking or my eyes are getting red.
Went the other day to the racetrack, country club out there at Preston, out there on 377.
Yeah.
I call it country club racetrack. We're all over.
Yeah.
You know, like anybody, 10 minutes run down a friend of mine's shop. They test out there. So anyway, when I run Super B, Stuart still got his Super B, so we took his Super B Atlantic car out there. So I drove the Super B. It was interesting. I mean, things happened real quick. I wasn't 3 or 4 or 5 corners ahead. It was ahead of me, but I couldn't. I just held it down and hung on.
Right.
You all right?
See.
It was a lot of fun.
We'll see. He's busy.
Might not do it quite as quick as you used to, but things are
Still
still,
have
it's like
fun.
putting a shoe on.
There you
It's
go.
still the same. These cars we used to race before the Indy cars.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they are, you know, you forget how quick they are.
That's what they want.
You know, straight line speed, 100 and maybe another, maybe. But the boring speeds, like if we're at Milwaukee or Phoenix or Nazareth or RP, you have to strap. You have to run up. You have to run that head strap, hold your head over, because you literally cannot hold your head up. The horse speeds that fast. Well, that's a long time ago. That's back in the 80s and 90s. We did one off race in Dallas just for fun. I've been in one forever. Of course, we usually have the seats fit to your butt.
Yeah.
Legs were pedals were up too far, let's hold your legs up.
Yeah, I would think
And then you
comfort
got,
would
then
be
you
a
got
big
those clock
thing.
straps and you're sliding down and it's pulling you
Sorry,
up.
sorry.
Through my knee.
You still got it, Mr. Gish. You still got it.
Oh, he's got it going on. He's always styling.
You one got that summer color on.
Ah, shit.
Dwayne, what's going on?
I'm good today.
Good today.
Take you out, put you on a bicycle.
Oh no, I wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
I'd make it about a
He
mile.
break a sweat. That'd be the first time he broke a sweat in about 30 years.
I'd make it about a mile and I'd shut it down. I've been cramping so bad.
Oh, man.
You still ride? I still ride your bike. I know you were getting pretty serious about it for a while.
Just exercise. Don't ride with groups.
Just, yeah,
Ride with a group, just looking for a place for somebody to take you down. I don't want to hit a crowd.
you're just to stay in shape.
That's it.
I
I
hear you.
ride, I get mine in, and I park it, and I'm done.
How many miles are you going to
It just depends on the day of the spot. I've been out last 2 days because it's just been hot.
Eternal God, our Father, it's once again that we come in humble submission to you. First of all, Father, thank you for the many blessings. Thank you for your grace and mercy. And then, Father, thank you for allowing us to come together this evening. Now, Lord, we pray that whatever decision we make, Lord, that they're not only pleasing in your sight, but for the betterment of our children, our district, and our entire community. Father, we love you. We lift up your name. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good, thank you, Shannon. Before we begin, I would like to read something. This is from Ann Haynes and all of the Fitzpatrick family. To GISD Board and Administration, I cannot express the heartfelt thanks for all of the kind words, the visits, and the beautiful plan that let us know that we were not alone in mourning the death of my brother, John David Fitzpatrick. I know that he felt the prayers offered from you all. And she has also told me she's very thankful for many of the prayers and thoughts from a lot of the area churches and citizens within the community. So she wanted me to read that. At this time, we will have the recognitions. Dr. Higgins?
Thank you. Well, about this time last year, I think we were doing the same thing, and that is recognizing our Iron Lions for the national champions for 3 times in a row. Here they come. We also want to recognize our sponsors. Lead sponsor Joel Pitts will describe a little bit to you about all the preparation that went into the victorious race all the way to California. And also co-sponsors George Cronky and Lucas Kiowski, also known as Chef. I know this man.
Pretty good.
I always choke on his name though. So Joel, please come tell us about your travels with your team.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here again to represent our community. These students traveled from Fort Worth to Palmdale, California in a 7-day race, representing our school, our community, the school board, our superintendent, all the teachers that they work with, and they did it with exemplary fashion. One of the things about this challenge that inspires me so much is the fact that, yes, it's a competition, but more it's a cooperation. There's 20-something other schools from across the United States there, and some of these schools may not be as far along as the build on the car. So one of the things that we do, and I stress with them, is let's be done with the car when school's out. So if we have any problems, we can fix it. And one of the things that happened this year, we prepared the students and have real high expectations for them. Well, one of the things that happened is we got there and there was a lot of things that weren't finished. Our goal was to get through the inspection process as quickly as possible. There's 3 days allotted for that, and we finished it in a day and a half. And once we were done, the kids spread up, went out and started working with the other teams. And we got a number of other teams passed through scrutineering, and then one of our competitors, their car caught on fire and was no longer able to run. So we took 4 of our top students in electrical, mechanical, and some other build areas, and they went with that team on our rest day and helped get their car running again, so that they could compete against us. I always tell them, I said, we don't want to win because the competition dropped out. We want to win because the best competition was out there racing us. And so we instilled that, and we instilled integrity. Every one of these students, I can't be more proud of them. I can't express the level of maturity that they presented for us at this race. It was awe-inspiring. They won the Sportsmanship Award, which is outstanding service to other solar cars at the race. And one of our students received the Marks Award. Logan Wood, he's not here, but that's a $500 scholarship through his service in the solar car challenge. I want to formally thank the board for your support. Dr. Liggins, thank you so much for coming out and waving the flag. That was really cool. And all of our sponsors in the community, and anybody that follows us on Facebook, it's really cool to see who's watching it and what's going on. So these students deserve every bit of accolade that they get, and they've represented our city and our community very, very well.
So Mr. Pitts has asked me to read these words. These are the students in order of importance. I mean, no particular order. Okay, so Riley Powell. Amir Rodriguez. Corbin Rao. Emma Yost. Giovanni Rodriguez. Kennedy Pryor. Nathan Higgins. Noah Buchanan. Andrew Stone. Mr. Pitts mentioned we also have Logan Wood, who's at a family affair this evening, and we have 2 of our students who are at volleyball. They're in the volleyball game tonight, so they couldn't be here. And then, of course, we also had a student who graduated, Cordell, who is not here as well. So that's the whole team.
Parents, come on up. You've got lots of time. Come on up and take some pictures. Right in the middle if you want, Ms. Yost. Oh, okay.
Did you want? Got some good ones.
All parents, you have your pictures.
It's been 15-day time.
Thanks again, you make us awfully proud.
That's what I thought.
All right, at this time, we will receive individuals who wish to address the board. Audience participation at a board meeting is limited to this portion, the public comment portion of the meeting designated for that purpose. At all other times during the board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board unless requested by the presiding officer. At our regular meetings, which this is one, the board shall allot 30 minutes to hear persons who desire to make comments to the board. Persons who wish to participate in this portion of the meeting should sign up before the meeting begins and indicate the topic about which they wish to speak The president shall give priority to those persons who wish to speak to items that are on the meeting's agenda. If time remains, those wishing to address non-agenda items may be allowed to speak. No presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views. Specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board will not deliberate or decide regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with the notice of the meeting. Presiding officer shall refer those constituents with complaints or concerns to the superintendent or his designee. We will not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. If after one warning from the presiding officer, any person continues to disrupt the meeting by either words or actions, we may request assistance from law enforcement present to have the person removed from the meeting. So I have 3 cards. We're not limited to 3 if someone else wants to speak, but I'll go ahead and we'll start. Remember, any comments, do not mention any names of past or present employees of the district. Let's keep it, let's don't personalize it in that way, if you would. First, Victor Gore.
I live at 2501 Rolling Hills here in Greenville. I think what you're considering of changing a few cents off the debt service, moving over on the operational side is a good idea. A lot of other districts have done that, and then change our tax rate as long as y'all don't raise the debt service again after you make that transition. So I think that's a good idea. I think the timing is the difficult thing, because as you understand, your community is a little concerned about the financial situation of Greenville ISD. And the second thing I would want to mention is that it has been stated to some of our employees, as well as has been stated in the paper, that if we're going to get increases, y'all going to turn over more revenue here in GISD, that the first attention will be given to the teachers, the paraprofessionals. I would sure hope that you stand behind that and don't give us another reason to be very disappointed about our financial situation. We're expecting that on this vote, if this vote occurs. And my understanding is that that may be part of the politicking to pass that. And when that happens, as it was the poll that was taken, there was a little politicking on it saying you want to help your teachers. I want to be sure that you as a board understand we would be voting for it for that purpose, that we expect you to implement the changes financially to benefit the people who are working for this district and not to find some other purpose in that. It's a skeptical time in Greenville. A lot of us are very skeptical of things that have occurred and of things that are not being given to us, like that extensive report. Though it is being leaked by certain people or certain elements in our community to satisfy those people who leak it, whatever they're seeking to gain. I do hope you will. I hope as your success in getting this thing changed over, and our teachers and our paraprofessionals being benefited.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned leaking. I'm not sure exactly where that's coming from, but I can assure you no one other than the members on this board and myself and our attorneys actually have copies of the report. So any late leaking is pure speculation. Absolutely nothing has been released to anyone other than the people you're looking at.
George McDonald.
My name is George McDonald. I live at 10505 Woodland Drive. I've been a resident for 5 years, living from Huntsville area, where I retired from the prison system. For 28 and a half years, my highest rank is farm manager, supervising a cluster of 5 units farming operations. I fully understand the cons practical medical use of taxpayers' dollars and assets. I want to get a clarification before I get started. I do have titles, I don't have names. Is that acceptable? I just need to say senior leadership. I'm going to go by it.
Senior leadership would be fine.
I'll try and implement that. What I also have is some documentation I'm going to present to everybody on the board on the subject I'm going to talk about. Can I present that, Joe? Correct? I've been working on this for quite some time. All right, most certainly the past year and a half has been revealing the operation of the school district. Financial unfairness to the point where attorney general is now involved in full criminal investigation. I believe this not only does the district have no sense of proper use of taxpayer dollars, but more seriously, no real concept of ethical practice. It could be perceived as unethical for senior leadership to invite a lead person to a department, show student folders, then post the job, interview no one else, and hire that person into the position. This position would have the same description as another senior leader, but with a different title. All while this particular leader was on vacation. Furthermore, this person would ultimately replace that senior leader or that department head, and this other person would get a different job title. So much for transparency in the level playing field. If you're going to hire somebody, why don't you look at somebody there, walk somebody through the work area, and you're not going to interview anyone else? So you follow me from the septic thing? If I've done that as a farm manager at TC, that's fired. It could be perceived for senior leadership to call them from the now new person with a smirk on their face. I'm going to make you cry, then ask for a resignation. That's bullying. If I'd done that as where I came from, they'd have fired me on the spot. And the things I'm talking about have been tried to be brought to this board, but through policy wrangling, it's been avoided. It's been circumvented, to get a better word. Okay. All right, this act was reported to senior leadership, and this person was susceptible to be called as constructive discharge. Clearly unethical behavior. Examples such as establishment of a new title with no authority, no direct responsibilities, exclusion from meetings, and ultimately reassigned to another job at the end of the year. This job would eventually be one of the jobs cut due to program changes. A new contract was made, and upon assignment of this new position, a department, HR, attempted to place this person under a probationary contract. This person had an administrative term contract. So when this was questioned, quickly it was changed back to a term. You know, the old bait and switch. Both these contracts had the signature of a previous board president. Confusingly, a principal that was over this particular job informed this person that they were advised by senior leadership to move funding from this job from federal money to local money. This could be perceived as maybe fraudulent in my mind because you're moving one pot of money from one to another pot, then you want to call it local money. So when you're cutting this, are you really saving any money, or was that bait and switch again? It's kind of interesting. Let's see. I'm trying to read GL's rules, not thinking the files. Okay. A grant was, this person was also told that grant was used to replace their job. Okay. So this grant that did this is from a 501 nonprofit. And I know for myself as a farm manager, as a field lieutenant working with the prison system, these grants are typically used to supplement and not supplant positions. Is that y'all follow what I'm saying? I'm presently seeking more information on this particular organization. In your package, you're going to find where to make contact with that organization to see what their policy is by using their services when people are cutting their jobs. It's a basic rule. You know, that's not very deep. Again, it's ethics. So, and then this is where it gets a little more involved. This person saw that.
Mr. McDonald, you're 5 minutes.
Can you do more? Just do more.
Not 2 more, but you can wrap it up real
I'll
quick,
wrap
but I'm
it
not gonna give you 2 more, but go Go ahead, everything you want is in here
Right.
for us to read, okay.
But
we
the thing you
appreciate
need to look at, this person knew that their tenure with this was over. So what they did, they were gonna resign on July 31st. Y'all stuff were made for June 1st, correct? So HR told this person, because this person wanted to use their venue to talk to you, the board, about all of this, all of a sudden, this person's resignation July 31st was accepted and they were reassigned to the high school at director's pay, being nothing more than the reception. That's kind of funny to me. I'm just a simple old country boy. And so that took that mechanism for this person to have a private meeting away from you from the board. So again, they can switch.
I think,
So-
that, we thank you, I think we've got, you've given us what we need, and I think we've got the flavor of it.
All right, thank you. And I'll do a bit more smooth about it. We're really trying to get by y'all rules as far as not being titles.
I
But
understand.
basically, there's a real ethical issue here, and I know you are in a financial crisis, and to fix it, but I think it's really good to look at. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, I got one more, Cliff Jones.
Hello, Cliff Jones, 10515 Road Lane. I talked about this last time I was here, but I want to talk about it again, bonuses that you guys talked about in the previous budget deal. My problem is, like I told you before, the way the announcement was made, that it's subject to board approval. Okay? The administration, I believe, knew already they had adequate votes on the board to pass the budget. Okay? That's what I believe. But I also believe that there was a previous board member that was not gonna vote for the budget. And so what I think, the reason this thing was announced possibly, was to make this board member look in a negative light to the public and possibly to the staff too. That they didn't care about the staff, or they didn't support the staff. And so, my issue is the reason this previous board member was not gonna vote for the budget was because they had asked for information. And the information could not or would not be given to them. So they can make a, decision based on the information that they needed. So I think by doing this, the administration was saying, hey, we're gonna make you look bad if you vote against us. And in my opinion, that's nothing more than bullying. And it seems that this administration, they don't want any dissenting voices. They just want everybody to vote the same way. And not just this administration, I believe it's the previous one too. So I don't know how you're gonna get to, the bottom of anything if everybody always agrees and nobody digs in and asks questions. So, second of all, I want to talk about the administration stated that the purpose of the survey was to determine how voters felt about the tax swap. And that's in August 12th, Alabama. However, it appears the survey was used to determine the terminology and wording that is needed to sway the favor of the tax swap, the voters in the favor of it. Once again, I think we were misled. I mean, the guy presented it up here very simple. If I asked the question the way it's wrote on the ballot, I got this answer. But if I changed the terminology, I would get this answer. So it sounds like you guys really just wanted to know, or the administration wanted to know, how do we sell this between now and November? Since we can't change the ballot information, we have to change how we tell people about this. And by doing that, again, I think we were misled totally again by the administration. And then the administration goes in my opinion, they disenfranchise the Spanish-speaking population on the survey. The young man said last week, I think it would cost approximately $2,000 more to be able to interview Spanish-speaking registered voters, if I'm correct. And you guys have budgeted for, I believe the budget was $17,000. You come come in somewhere around 13,000. I went together 2,000 spent, you know, for this. So by doing that, the outcome of the survey, again, was skewed. You don't have an accurate survey by any means. It was just an expensive public relation campaign to tilt the sport in favor of it. But when you ask the question, the way it's going to read on the ballot, people are not in favor of it. Point blank. So, I'm telling you guys, our community deserves way better than this. Our staff deserves way better than this. Our teachers do. And it's nobody's fault but this board and the previous boards. You guys have totally let down the teachers and the staff. You guys have demanded raises. Then you've done nothing. You never dug into the budget to make any administration say, tell me where the problem is. Tell me how we fix it. Tell me how we give the teacher a raise. Never done that, I don't believe, at all. And you failed them. And they deserve way more than this. They deserve to be paid adequately for the work, for their time, for their effort, and they are entitled to be respected. And they don't feel that way. And it's nobody else's fault but this board and the previous board. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I would like to address just one thing, a factual thing, and I had it written out, and I apologize. I wrote a letter to the editor Saturday. It hasn't been published. I don't know if it will be or not, but it kind of addressed the sort of misperception of the survey in that it purposely excluded the Hispanic community. So I was concerned about that, because it had been brought up so much. So I went ahead and I called the person who had addressed us and showed us the survey results, just to get a better understanding of the process and how it went through and some of the figures behind it and all that. And he indicated the first thing they did was they got the voters' rolls. They got as many phone numbers as they could of those registered voters, and they proceeded to call 3 or 4 or 5 times if they had to, as many times, and a lot of people never did answer. But it was eerie. The results he got from the survey were very closely to almost every demographic. He even broke it down by the north side and the south side. There were 2 zip codes, right? We saw that. And between Republican and Democrat, how many registered Republicans versus Democrats on both north and south, the responses very closely followed that demographic. He pointed out that in Hunt County, about 6.5% of registered voters are Hispanic, identified as Hispanic. About 3 to 4% of the voters are Hispanic. So the Hispanic population, the voting population, is about 3 to 4% in the district. They actually received responses in the survey of around 6% in the Hispanic population. So it over-surveyed the Hispanic population as far as the voters, which I thought was interesting. Now, just because they're Hispanic doesn't mean they speak English or they speak Spanish. They could speak either one or both. They could be bilingual. I think it's generally obvious that as a registered voter, citizen in the U.S., most Hispanic registered voters probably are bilingual, probably speak English and Spanish. So all the surveys, as he stated, were done in English. None were done in Spanish. But it's after hearing all this, it's my opinion that there were very few Hispanic voters that weren't represented in the survey. There may have been one or two that didn't speak English and didn't participate in the survey, but that wouldn't, with 229, it probably wouldn't have affected the results of the survey. So I just wanted to clear that up. It might be better stated if I could read it, but maybe you can read it in the paper in the future. If there's no objection from the board, I would like to move item 9 up to the front, if that's okay. Item 9 is the comments from individual board members. So here's 9. We'll move item 9 up for individual comments. So
Can we move the podium now that we're not using it so we can see you?
we're probably going to need that podium for some of the presentations. So maybe we can move it over to the side. Are there any board members that want to address, or if you want, we can break it up and address at the end? I know sometimes board members want to wait until the end and discuss something that may have come up, but I wanted to talk about something at the front, so that's why I want to move. I want to encourage everybody, all the parents who are here tonight, who are listening, watching, whatever. There was an article in the Dallas Morning News, Sunday Dallas Morning News, in the points section. Go on your way home, stop and get a Sunday paper. Walmart still has some. Exxon up here across from McDonald's usually has some for several days. There's an excellent article in here about parents and education and what parents can do to help their students this coming school year. There's 5 points in here, and it's excellent. I encourage everyone to read it. It stresses how you can, questions you can ask your principal, get to know your principal, questions you should ask them about how are they using data, how are things that affect your child, and really holding them accountable. So I would encourage everyone to get that and read through it. You might get some good tips on how you can help your child's education this coming up year. Okay, Dr. Ligon, that brings us to item 4, reports. Unless someone else has a comment, or we can do it again at the end.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. For my report, I would like to start out by saying yesterday was the first day of school, which was really exciting. We had lots of fun, lots of excitement. There were many kids. Our enrollment is up from last school year, first day of school, to this year, first day of school, approximately 100 to 200 kids, 150 to 200 kids. And things ran, for the most part, as well as could be expected on the first day, with new procedures, new kids, new everything, new school year. But we're really excited to kick off the year, and excited to what's to come. Also, we've had some pretty exciting news come out that we've shared. And as you all know, the state started, last year they gave us a what if rating, which was essentially, this is your rating, but we're just not going to say it's official. And then this year they made them official. And so last year our preliminary what if rating was a D, and this year it's a B. And this is very significant to our teachers and principals and students and parents' support and our hardworking staff in order to make such great gains in academic success. I would like to speak to the A through F system though, as although it is really something to celebrate us receiving a B as a district, I do not personally agree that an A through F can actually define and describe the success of our district overall, or lack thereof. There are certain things that our students do that will never be judged by the STAR test, that they do exceptionally well. And this is based solely on a test that students take on one given day of the year. And we understand that test is important, and therefore we do our best to prepare them for it. But there are many other aspects to a child other than what they can perform on a test. And so although we celebrate the B, I Moving on, Shannon, we also went from 3 academic distinctions last year to 11 academic distinctions this year. Basically, academic distinctions are when our campuses are compared to their like peers, meaning campuses that look and feel just like the other campuses as far as demographics. And so we increased that as well from last year to this. We also had significant gains in our financial progress. As you're aware, last year there was a deficit that we worked through throughout the year, and this year we have a balanced budget, actually with somewhat of a surplus. And I would like to go back one more to talk a little bit about the budget. We did, I often hear that we don't know where money went, or we're not sure where it is. You know, last year's budget was audited by an outside firm, and we're fully aware of, you know, there were raises given that were not necessarily included. There was buildings built and new square footage that wasn't necessarily included in the coming. So we're fully aware of where the money actually went, and that's why we took great strides this year as a board to make sure that we made up for that, and we found ourselves in the position we are in now. The audit that's being done, or the investigation that's being done by the AG's office, has to do with some potential concerns with the budget funds and some actionable items from previous employees, but absolutely nothing to do with the budget shortfall that we experienced this last year. So that's a misnomer that I wanted to kind of clear up for, hopefully it'll stick. Moving on, we also have, we went from last year to freezing salaries and not being able to give any employee raises to this year being able to give, to budget $1,000 for teachers and $500 for all other staff, as well as proposing a TRE for a raise. There's also been a question that's been asked that I would like to address at this time. Why did we choose to give a lump sum versus a raise in the actual budget? Why did we present that to the board as such? The main reason is because in 2017-18 we gave them nothing. We were not in a financial situation to do that. And so where we found ourselves in a situation to do it this year, if we had taken the amount of funds that we had, would have been a little less than a 2% raise, so it wouldn't even been a full 2% raise. If we had given that, that would have come out to a little bit, and teachers would have received a little, before taxes, about $40 every paycheck extra. We felt that by presenting it in this manner, it would indeed be more impactful to our teachers and to our staff to receive it in one lump sum, considering the previous year they had kept a consistent salary at all. And if we're successful in passing a TRE, at that point, we would also like to give them a well-deserved, give them a raise should the TRE pass. Moving on. And also this Thursday, for anyone that is interested, we are having the Hunt County Focus on Education Luncheon put on by the Chamber of Commerce. And I will be presenting along with all other Region 10, all other Hunt County superintendents. We're really excited about that. We are doing very well compared to some of our peers. The 4 largest districts of the 4 largest districts in the county. We have 1D, 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. And we actually happen to be the B, which is rather exciting for us. So I'm looking forward to that day as well. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Okay, 4B, State Accountability Report.
Ms. Triggers will be presenting this portion of our meeting.
technical difficulties, please stand by. Good evening, President Council, Dr. Liggins, members of the board. I am here to talk about 2017-2018 accountability. We'll start by kind of going over just a little historical look. The A through F system was legislatively mandated under House Bill 22 during the 85th Texas Legislature. For the 17-18 school year, districts will receive an A through F rating. Campuses will not. Campuses will receive a rating of met standard or improvement required, with a report to come out sometime around October, November with an A through F rating. And then next year, all campuses and districts will receive an A through F rating. The state scaled scores are created, a set of scaled scores, so that the calculations that were done are translated over into what we really are comfortable with knowing an A, a B, a C, a D, and an F would be. Meaning that they've translated these into a scale score so that a 90 to 100 is an A, an 80 to an 89 is a B, and so forth and so on. So that the public, so that members internally have a better idea of what those scores look like. For 2018 accountability, we have a brand new system. We've gone from 4 indexes now to 3 domains. We have a student achievement domain, we have a school progress domain, which is made up of 2 components, a student growth component and a relative performance component, and then the 3rd domain is the closing the gaps domain. And I'm going to go over each of the domains briefly to just give you a little insight as to what those are made up and how those are made up. Once we receive scores in each of those domains are then combined into one single rating. So we get a rating in the student progress domain, and we get a rating in the student performance domain, and a closing the gaps domain, and that second domain has 2 components. So we get 4 individual scores that are then composed and combined to get a 5th overall score. The overall score is 70% based on the student achievement domain or the school progress domain, whichever one the districts received that was the better. So we've gone from the old system where the state looked at all of our scores and said, okay, this one was the lowest, so we're going to give you this rating, to a system now that says, where are we, what are we the best at? And we're rewarding districts for the things that they are the best at. 30%, the remaining 30% of that final combined rating is based on the closing the gap domain. And it's important to know that if 3 of the 4 areas receive an F or an improvement required rating, then the campus or district will not receive anything higher than a 59. So there is that caveat built in as well. You can't just be good at one thing. You have to be good at several things in order to do well. The student achievement domain for elementary and middle schools is composed solely of STAR scores.
weighted at 100% STAR. For high schools and districts, there's three components. There's the STAR scores, there's college, career, and military readiness, and then there's a graduation rate, and you can see the weighting within that individual domain on each of those components. The STAR component evaluates and looks at three levels of performance: those that hit the approaches grade level, those that hit meets grade level, and those that hit the highest level of performance, which is master's grade level. The raw score calculation on the STAR component is simply the average of those three performance levels that is then put on a scaling score, a scaling tool provided by TEA to translate that into an ACREN. The student achievement domain component for high schools and districts has this CCMR, college, career, military readiness component. That looks at performance on AP exams, SAT, ACT. It looks at dual credit completions, those students earning associate's degrees, CTE students that are enrolled in coherent sequences, CTE students that are earning industry-based certifications, all the way down to our special ed students that graduate with completed IEPs under 4 different graduation codes. As well as looking this year at military ready, looking at those that are actually enlisting in the United States Armed Forces. School progress domain calculated for elementary, middle, high schools, and districts. School progress part A. So we are now looking at that second domain. That second domain is made up of 2 parts. There's a progress component and one called relative performance. We receive the better of A or B in this domain, and then we receive the better of 1 or 2. Domain 1 or domain 2. The school progress component looks at an individual child's performance last year to an individual child's performance this year, and did the child meet a minimum growth standard? Did they make a year's worth of growth? And we receive credits for that. That is available only for reading and math for grades 4 through 8, Algebra 1, and English 2. The relative performance component looks at the district's numbers and percentages of economically disadvantaged students, and it compares our performance to others who are economically disadvantaged at the same level as we are. For high schools and districts, this is not just looking at our STAR performance, but it also looks at the CCMR, the college, career, military readiness performance, whereas for elementary school, it's simply looking at STAR. Our AEA campuses, so think New Horizons, they're an alternative education campus. They're not evaluated on the Part B component because there's such small numbers of AEA campuses that they couldn't have enough campuses to do an adequate comparison and reference. The closing.
Could you go back?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Everything else for.
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me of that. I do want to point out that for our AEA campus for New Horizons, every other component of this new A through F system, they are held to the same standard as every other campus, as every other district. So there is no longer a different system for AEAs as there was under the former system. So thank you for that reminder. The Closing the Gaps domain looks at the performance of our subgroups. The state has set several targets. So there are targets for each of the race ethnicity categories. There are targets for the special ed category, targets for the LEP category. There's a few new categories they've thrown into the mix. And we are getting a rating based off of the number of targets we hit in this component. The targets that they're looking at that have been set by the state are targets in academic achievement, looking at the students that are at the meets grade level or above. So we're looking at that higher level of student performance. It's not just passing the test, but performing at a higher level. We're looking at academic growth elementary and middle schools. We're looking at federal graduation statuses at high schools and districts. Student achievement domain, the STAR component only, that's for elementary and middle school. So again, STAR is looked at, again, calculated in a different manner, looking at all students who passed all tests. And then we're looking at the college career military readiness performance, as well as English language proficiency status. We assess our English language proficiency status with the assessment called TELPAS. This is the first accountability system that has used TELPAS scores as part of a component. Each of our campuses has the ability to earn distinction designations. The district also has the ability to earn a single distinction designation in post-secondary readiness. We can earn distinctions for academic achievement in English language arts and reading, in mathematics, in science, in social studies. Also, the top 25% comparative academic growth. So that looks at that domain 2 and how did we compare against 40 other campuses that look just like that campus. They're demographically made up the same. And I included in your board packets each and every campus's comparison schools so that you could see what campuses across the state were being compared to. The top 25% comparative closing the gaps. That's also looking at that third domain, closing the gaps domain, and it's comparing them against the 40 other schools that are like theirs, and we have to rate in that top. And then post-secondary is available for districts and campuses. The district has to have a certain percentage of its campuses earning that distinction in order for the district to then earn that distinction.
Is that a distinction available at the elementary campus?
Yes, post-secondary readiness is also at the elementary campus. And at the elementary campus, it's based solely on STAR scores. And this is just,
Basically,
yes.
it's based off of the student master's grade level that shows that they're well on their way to being ready for college.
It's looking at higher level of performance, yes. So here's where we're talking about each campus being assigned a unique comparison group. So it's really, the state just rank orders everybody and they say, okay, who all is at 70% economically disadvantaged? Okay, we're just gonna randomly pick from this list. These campuses will be grouped together. There's your list, and then where do you rank within that group of 40? Here's the state rating distribution. I thought that this little graphic you might find interesting. The number of districts across the state of Texas that earned an A is 153. The number of districts earning a B is 356. As Dr. Liggins has already stated, Greenville ISD is one of those 356. The number earning a C is 247. The number earning a D is 57. And the number earning an F is 16. There were 92 districts that did not receive any rating at all due to Hurricane Harvey. There were many districts that did not receive a rating at all on the A through F system because they are K-12 districts, meaning that their campus and their district is one. And so since campuses received a Met Standard improvement required, so there's a few districts that are already counted for here. These are just the ones that actually receive ratings on A through F. So here we are. Here's Bowie Elementary Elementary Schools score. You can see each of the three components. Remember, school progress is made up of a Part A and a Part B, and they receive the better score of Part A or Part B, so TEA only reports it out here as one. And then up here at the top is where you will see the overall score. Bowie did receive a rating of Met Standard. Down here at the bottom are distinctions that are earned, the little green check, that's good. Bowie Elementary earned an academic achievement in science.
There's 7, but there's only 6.
The seventh is where the district comes.
On an elementary Elementary campus, they do not assess social studies. We don't administer the social studies assessment until 8th grade. So an elementary campus only has 6 potential distinctions that they can earn off that list. Good question, thank you. Carver Elementary, you'll see here, they also met standard. Crockett Elementary also met standard. Catherine G. Johnson STEM Academy met standard and earned 6 of the possible 6 distinctions. Lamar Elementary met standard. LP Waters also met standard. LP Waters does not assess students under STAR, but they are what's called a paired campus. They are paired up with another campus. Lamar is a feeder campus for all of our elementaries are a feeder campus, so we had to pick one. Travis Elementary also met standard. 6th grade center met standard. Greenville Middle School met standard and earned a distinction in academic achievement in mathematics and academic achievement in science. Greenville High School met standard. They earned academic achievement in English language, arts, and reading, and they earned a post-secondary readiness distinction. New Horizons met standard. As a reminder, they are held to the same set of standards as all other campuses. They did not receive a rating in school progress or in the closing the gaps because they did not have enough students in each of the subgroup areas to receive a rating. And Greenville ISD received a B as our overall rating. So our improvement highlights, as Dr. Liggins has pointed out, under that what if report that the state published last year, Greenville ISD would have had a D. So Greenville ISD has earned a B under the rating system this year. We had 3 distinctions in 2017, and we received a total of 11 this year. We also had 4 campuses that had to participate in the PEG grant program, the Public Education Grant Program. This year we have 0, and that is a good thing, because under this program, if you have a campus that is IR, improvement required, then students at that campus are allowed to transfer to another campus either within the district or outside our district. So this helps keep kids here, and when we keep kids here, our money stays here. If you want additional information, if you're a nerd like me and you want to read through that accountability manual from front to back and study it like I have and, sleep and eat and dream, please feel free to do so. There is additional information on our campuses and on any campus across the state or any district across the state. The state has a new website, and it's txschools.org. You can find all of the accountability reports and disaggregated data at that location. As far as our next steps, what are we going to focus on this year to continue this upward movement? We're going to work on closing those achievement gaps, working on that domain 3, closing those achievement gaps between our subgroups, and then also focusing on growth for all students. Because if we can get all students meeting their growth rate, then that domain 1 will take care of itself. If kids are growing, they will be passing. So that's kind of the focus that we have. At this time,
Will that website show the student achievement at the high school level broken out where I can see how many
yes.
enrolled in military, how many earned this industry certification, all of those criteria, will it tell me how many of all met all those?
I don't believe that it's going to break it down into that detail. I do have access to that information, Mr. Kelso, and I can provide you with that information, but I don't believe on the public side that it does that. The public side typically is going to mask the data so that it doesn't reveal any one student. So, you know, if we had one student who graduated from Greenville High School that enlisted in the military, and we all knew who that child was, by putting the data out as one, then everybody in town would know. So it does mask small numbers in the data, but I can get you that information. Other questions?
I have a question. All of the information that we are getting, when I was reading this at home, I'm thinking, how many different tests do we have to take in order to get all of the information disaggregated the way that it is? What are all of the scores based on?
That's a really good question, and the answer is a whole lot of them. We give, at third grade, a test in reading and mathematics. In fourth grade, we do reading, mathematics, and writing. Fifth grade, reading, mathematics, and science. Sixth grade, we kind of begin the cycle. Again, we go reading and mathematics. Seventh grade, reading, mathematics, and writing. Eighth grade, reading, mathematics, science, and then we add social studies. Then we move into high school in a course where we do Algebra 1, English 1, English 2, biology, and U.S. history. So that gives you your STAR assessments. Then for the secondary campuses in district, you're also looking at students that are taking ACT, SAT. You're looking at students that may be taking AP exams. You're looking at students who take the TSIA, which is like the AccuPlacer. So if someone wants to go and enroll at PJC, they have to take an entrance exam. They can take SAT or ACT, or they can just take this TSIA. Then in that last domain where we include this component now called TELPOS, TELPOS is given to every single LEP student, kinder through high school, kinder K through 12. So if they're LEP, there's about 1,000.
What LEP is?
I'm sorry, LEP, Limited English Proficient, I'm sorry. We rattle off those acronyms and sometimes forget what they stand for, but Limited English Proficient. So the TELPOS exam is going to assess students in writing, listening, speaking, and reading. Thank you. And then there's the STAR Alternate 2 students. Those are our severely and profoundly disabled, and they take the same assessments, grades 3 through high school. It is a modified form of the assessment, but they are assessed in the same subjects as all of the other students.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna ask a question that sounds kind of, hopefully, simple. If we are doing the testing, and it sounds to me like not being in a classroom, and just listening to what you have to do, and the various categories that you have to maintain each of these students in, who's got time to teach?
If we're teaching the state standards,
It takes care of the test.
it takes care of the test. Our assessment is aligned to the state standards. If we're teaching the state standards to the depth and complexity and rigor that we should be teaching, then the testing takes care of itself.
So you hear the expression, teaching the test, but in all reality, the state tells you, you have to teach this because this is what we're going to test. So if you're teaching something else, you're not teaching what the state has required us to teach anyway. And the state has, throughout the years, have made it much more rigorous. They're taking away, special ed kids take the same test as general ed kids, LEP students, all of those. And so they're taking away a lot of things, but supposedly, although we have a legislature meeting this summer, and supposedly it's going to stay the same for 5 years. So we won't be chasing a moving target. That remains to be seen. But that was what the last legislative session said. So we shall see.
Okay?
I have a question. I have read all the data and gone to the website and all that and looked at all the schools. But what I can't really understand is how much did we improve from last year to this year? Like in reading, we improved 10%? I mean, how much growth did our kids actually make?
That's a real good question, and I am still in the throes of digging through the data to get the answers to those very questions. In mid to late November, that TAPR report, the Texas Assessment Performance Report, will come out, and we'll have the data disaggregated at the grade levels by race ethnicity, and we'll be doing our presentation, of course, once we receive that data as well, but we are looking at all of the data and to make those very determinations.
And the domain closing the gap, which is something that, you heard from me a long time, about closing the gap, the learning gap. We get that information from the tests that are taken over a period of time, from the children who take, it seems to me that the children are tracked from kindergarten through 12th grade to see whether or not they are improving.
We're assessing kids from the time they enter kindergarten. We do beginning, middle, and end of the year assessments very early on, looking at reading levels early on, because we all know that reading is that foundation for everything that is to come. We're also doing testing at beginning, middle, and end of the year, with regards to mathematics, looking for fluency and everything. We start tracking, and I don't like the word tracking, but we start looking at students and addressing deficits and weaknesses very early on. Okay. Well, I'm not finished yet. I am going to talk a little bit about the Travis Priority School Grant Program. Just a little background knowledge. This was brought before the board last year. It's been a few months since we talked about it. But during 17-18, Travis Elementary received the Priority School Grant, some Title I Improvement Priority Funding, the amount of $75,000. With the stipulation that no more than 60% of the monies could be allocated and spent on salaries. Last year, a committee at Travis was developed. It was comprised of teachers, principal, assistant principal, counselors, cafeteria managers, the whole school community. And they came together and developed and talked about what they wanted to see this money being expended for and what they thought this expenditure could do to help student performance. So they came together and decided that they wanted to work on a teacher incentive pay model with that thought of building ownership, building all in, sort of that team community on the campus, because they felt like that might be a component that was lacking. The incentive pay was based on two things. One part of it was based on distinctions. So if the campus earned distinctions for the 2018 accountability, then there would be a level of pay as an incentive, and then also an incentive pay for student growth. And that student growth measure was centered around reading. So it used grade-appropriate assessment tools for reading, meaning in kinder, we don't have STAR for reading. So they used a tool that would be appropriate to measure reading in kinder, and then where we do have a STAR score for the 5th grade, looking at a progress score, then we use that component. There were,
Rachel,
I'm sorry.
the 3 through 5,
yes,
is that unique to Travis?
no, that is not. Typically, most of our campuses, by about the time they're in 3rd grade, they are departmentalized, meaning that you've got 1 or 2 teachers on the team that might teach math, and the kids kind of rotate through so that each teacher's strengths can be utilized as that team. So thank you for asking that. K2, we looked at individual, meaning classroom teacher, individual results, and at 3-5, because they're departmentalized, we looked at the team's results. There were numerous qualifications, looking at everything from employee attendance rates, looking at part-time employees being able to receive, a prorated amount. They did build in that there was a minimum growth expectation by teacher or by team of 70%, meaning that 70% of their students would receive a year's growth in their learning as evidenced by the assessment tools that were used. So here are the results. The campus rating was met standard, but they did not earn any incentive pay because there was no campus distinction that was awarded. And then the student growth, the overall campus growth for K-5 came in at 32%. There was one team at grade 5 that did come in at over 70%, and so any eligible teachers on that team will be receiving an incentive payout in the amount of $250.16.
Explain that 70%, I missed that. 70% of what?
70% of the students in the teacher's classroom at K2 or in the team 3-5 would
Sure.
achieve 1 year's growth
Okay.
as measured by an appropriate beginning of year, end of year assessment.
So what's the total payout for the teachers?
$250.16.
That was it,
That
not
is
the
the total
individuals?
payout. That's the total payout to the individuals on that team. Remember, this was a very small campus.
Okay,
And in order for a teacher to receive that payout, they had to be returning teachers, and I believe it was a very small team, and one member is not returning.
okay, now, the total grant was for $75,000.
It was.
right? So what happens,
That's a great question. I anticipated you might want to know that, Mr. Brown. That is a really good question because it was $75,000. Remember, only 60% of that money could have gone towards it. So what happened was, being that the campus didn't meet the goals, we go back in and we do an amendment to the grant, which has to then be approved for the Texas Education Agency as proxy for the federal government, since it was federal monies. And it was used to pay for professional development called Capturing Kids' Hearts. And it was also used to purchase additional teacher and student resources in the area of leveled readers.
so every year, if we don't, we have to go back and reapply or do an amendment, or how did this work?
The grant,
How long does it last?
well, we didn't get the grant this year because we did improve performance on STAR and we met standard at that campus this year, which makes us ineligible to receive those funds.
Not
So-
that you want to get.
It's really not money you want to get, exactly. So it's really a good thing that we don't have the money, because we did make growth for those students, and we did meet the standard set by TEA.
And so we send our money back.
No, we did spend the monies. We expended the funds because we had earned those funds, if you will. We did expend those funds, but we did it through professional development. We did it purchasing additional level readers for the campus. So we didn't get any money back.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Were the level readers, were they purchased for last year, or are they strictly purchased for this year?
We had to wait until, well, we had to wait to see what the payout was. So they will have been expended since we've gotten the results back and know that.
So was there anything that was purchased or bought that helped the kids achieve this goal for last year?
Some things, yeah. There was 40% of the funds that would have been expended. This would have been the redistribution of funds that were reserved. So. Anything else?
Are you gonna go over the campus comparison group slide?
I am not. I provided those for your information, but I'd be happy to answer or attempt to answer any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to ask about that. The format that I had seen before shows all 40 campuses, and it shows your campus, boom, right where they fall. I assume this time it doesn't show that. The numbers 1 through 40 are meaningless on the left side, correct?
Yes, that is just showing you the names of 40 campuses that we were compared to. On the Texas website, I believe it shows you where the line is drawn, and if not, I do have those documents. TEA provides those through a secured, environment for download. And I've had some trouble downloading, but I finally got them all downloaded, and have those available if you'd like. I can give those to you as well.
Yeah, if it's easy to, because there are numbers here we could look at, but the numbers, I don't know how to compare them from one to the other to see where each of those campuses fit.
I'm happy to help you with that. No problem.
But you can assume, and I haven't seen that before either, so I'll get you a copy. But you can assume that they got a distinction, they're in the top quartile of that group. But where they lie otherwise, we have to look at their report to see.
Will that come out in the format it used to come out in?
I do have, yeah, I do have it in that old format. Again, it comes from a secured environment, which means that the numbers aren't masked, so it will show small numbers. That's why they weren't included in Board Book. If there's nothing else, then that concludes my presentation, and I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, that'll bring us to 4C, the second reading of policy update 111. I'm sorry, that brings us to the handbook, B2. Excuse me.
Board President, Mr. Kessel, Superintendent Dr. Diggins, and school board members, I come before you for consideration for approval for the 2018-19 student handbook.
It's not approval, it's just presentation.
My fault, thank you. The handbook was consolidated with the elementary and secondary. TASB gave some of the changes, the multiple changes. Some were as simple as changing words from child to student throughout the handbook, and updated the glossary. Other sections added examples such as hazing. Overall, the updated legally to match federal laws that had changed throughout the year. Now locally, we did have some changes specific for Greenville, which was forever aligning our new dress code and individual name of new employees. So, any questions?
We're required to post this on the website, is that correct? And has that been done yet?
No, it's part of registration.
And I'm assuming this is in Spanish.
I know that question's coming up, it's ready, all the way for it to get the approval, it's ready, to be downloaded. Thank you, Mr.
Anybody have any questions? I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now we can go to the reading. I just couldn't wait.
President Kessel, Dr. Williams, Board of Trustees, you have before you the second reading of Update 111, which affects local and legal policies. Most of these were as a result of still out of the 85th legislative sessions and recent administrative rule changes that affected those legal and local policies. I'm going to go through all those tonight. The only thing that is really new is the policies that are related to handguns, and the board had directed or had indicated they wanted more information as it relates to GKA local and DH local. In your comparison packet, the red line version, towards the back end of that, there's GKA local and DH local. GKA relates to our community relations and others who visit our campus, and those that are considered handgun license holders. The only real difference is, it strikes out the word owned, for our parking areas and, leaves it just for provided parking areas. And the other stricken part is not loaded in plain view, which would mean that a CHL person could potentially have a loaded weapon, in their vehicle out of plain view. Our policy currently reads that it has to be unloaded if it's on school property. DH is very similar, but it relates to employee standard of conduct. So this would be our employees that, if they're a CHL holder, they would be able to have that if the board was so inclined to adopt these particular versions, that they could be loaded, not in plain view. The only thing that is stricken in that is the word language that is not loaded.
Do you know if the CHL has a stipulation that, okay, it's loaded in the car, not in plain view, does the car have to be secured? There may be something
I
else
don't know,
in the CHL.
I don't know the answer to that question as far as whether the car has to be secured as in locked. I'm assuming you mean locked or
Yeah, yeah.
alarmed or something along those lines. I don't know the answer to that question. CHL.
I figured it was covered through the CHA, yeah.
Now, if you have to entertain any questions you might have.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, that brings us to the action items. A is consider approval of TASB Board of Directors.
This administration is recommending that you endorse the candidate for the TASB Board of Directors, Region 10, Position A, and endorse the candidate for Region 10, Position D. There are only one candidate for Position A, so that one's kind of simple. And G, there are multiple. It is a recommendation of administration that it's Todd Jones.
Okay, I'm trying to get to it. I'm assuming that it's got Mr. Jones' name in there, so, before we go any further, does anybody have anything, any other people they'd like to discuss or anything they'd like to bring up?
Mr. Jones was the gentleman we talked about last meeting, right?
So I'm open for someone to read this motion either with the names in it or replace them with a name, and we'll take a vote.
I move that the board of trustees endorse the candidate Todd Johnson for the test board of directors, Region 10 position. And I move that the board of trustees endorse the candidate David Wells for the test board of directors, Region 10 position.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Mrs. Butcher, second. Motion by Mrs. Stafford. Any discussion? All in favor? And it passes 6-0. Okay, consider approval of resolution regarding teacher and salary increases.
It's recommended by administration, Mr. President, that the board adopt a resolution regarding teacher pay, should the TRE be passed by the voters.
Okay, why don't we take a motion and then we can talk? If-
Everyone has a resolution. Everyone has a resolution in front of them. Yes, you have to read it verbatim,
Do we have to read the whole thing or just the result?
the whole thing.
Oh, do we? Okay.
I'll read it. Okay. Whereas the Board of Trustees, the Board of the Greenville Independent School District, the district, is authorized by 11.51 of the Texas Education Code, TEC, to govern and oversee the management
ratify the tax rate adopted for the 2018-2019 school year. Whereas the Greenville ISD has called for this tax ratification election to generate additional revenue for the district while not increasing the overall tax rate. Whereas Greenville ISD was not able to approve employee raises last year, and whereas Greenville ISD has approved a balanced budget for the 2018-19 school year, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Greenville Independent School District, resolve the Board of Trustees find that if the proposed tax rate is approved by the voters during the upcoming tax ratification election, all additional revenue generated by the tax ratification election shall be used for teacher and other employee raises for the 2018-19 and 2019-20 school years.
Okay, so that's kind of specific, it says all. What is all? I take it all is the increased revenue from the M&O 2-cent increase minus the difference of the 3 cents on the INS, and all the remaining funds after that's accounted for would be applied to teacher raises, which I assume raises could be in the form of salary increases, bonuses, stipend increases, any number of things that would increase the paycheck to the employee. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is that language using the term raises, we're okay with that? It's not a raise like
Salary increase.
a percentage raise, but it could be, if we don't have that much left, right? I mean, it depends on how much is left and how we decide to divvy it up. It could be a bonus in the form of a bonus, and that's being clear on it.
Anything that puts more money in the pocket of the employee.
So that is what the funds should be already passed. Funds that are generated by that action. All will go toward teacher, teacher's salary.
All employees, teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, all of that stuff, yes.
Whatever that percentage, if there's any fund left over, correct? We're saying that it can run also to
Exactly, yes.
whatever percentage is going to be based on what is left. We don't have enough money in budget to be able to do this. We'll take those funds, knock it into 1920, and get whatever percentage.
Absolutely, yes. That was received, should it pass this year, that resolution states those funds will go this year to, we've already said, well, you guys can approve it or not, but in November, we're proposing a 3% midpoint raise. Whatever's left over will be for sure in next year's raise.
Will this year's raises be a part of the salary schedule? That be incorporated into the posted salary schedule?
It would change it would increase the salary schedules, yes, ma'am.
Is that pretty clear? Is there a motion for such a thing? Mr. Brown and Ms. Dr. Butcher, second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Consider approval of teacher T-test list.
Yes. Mr. President, members of the board, each year, teachers have the option of, should they disagree with their first evaluation, which is done by their principal or assistant principal and campus administrator, have the option of asking for a second appraiser. And state law basically states that that list has to be pre-approved. And so before you have the list of those individuals who would be pre-approved to do second appraisals. We're just simply asking for to approve the list. Yeah, so basically, if I met Travis and I want another administrator to do it, any other principal can come and do it.
Even though it's not over that campus, or
Yes,
if they actually, if someone actually does, and someone don't agree with it, we can have another,
yes,
there's on this list.
yes, only from that list.
Let me ask about the process for appraising, this is appraising teacher performance.
Yes,
That's correct, okay. If then, usually it's done by the principal of that campus,
our campus administrator, could be assistant principal also,
or whether it's done by somebody in that.
capacity, yes, ma'am.
So if the evaluee does not agree with whatever evaluation they got, and they're asking for a different appraiser to come in, then that appraiser can come in from this list that is already prepared.
Yes,
And, under this system, is there like free evaluations or early evaluations? It's just this one?
Teachers get 2 evaluations a year, one announced and one unannounced evaluation. And then those 2, and each of them come with, well, the announced comes with a pre-conference and post-conference. And of course, the unannounced cannot come with the pre, but it comes with the post-conference as well. And the teachers also, before their evaluations throughout the year, sit down and talk about what their goals are and what they're looking to achieve that year. And so there's really no surprises. And between evaluations, there's informal walkthroughs and observations done by administrators on a regular basis to provide feedback.
Is this only for teacher evaluation, is that, you don't need that to appraise the functions of other people who are, cafeteria workers?
Everyone is appraised, but because this evaluation tool is adopted by the state, they have certain regulations. Everyone else that don't necessarily agree with their evaluation fall under the grievance process.
Make a motion that the Board of Trustees approve the T-test appraiser list as presented.
Okay, we have a motion, Dr. Butcher, second by Ms. Stafford. All in favor? That passes 6-0. Which brings us to consideration of modified schedule for the testing.
Yes, we also ask that you approve the the modified schedule for state assessment testing date. Basically, this allows us to send to TEA a waiver. We've done it for many years past where on testing day, if seniors are not testing, to have an environment where students who are testing can not have to worry about seniors that are passing classes. It allows them to come in late, and it doesn't impact our daily attendance. And so it basically allows those non-testing students, juniors and seniors particularly on testing days, if they're not testing but other students are, to come in late and it not affect our attendance.
Can we get some feedback from Mr. Jarvis on how that's working?
I don't think, oh, he's here. Okay, come on up.
Just for that one question.
I just wondered if you had any concerns about it, or if it was working.
We need that because it helps out. Because so many, the testing is so unique, and different testing classrooms may only have 2 or 3 students in it, so that takes a teacher or 2 to run that test. We may have online testing in another one, and so we're spread out. So we use just about the top stairs all in the classroom before. So it takes all of us, we have hallway monitors, so when you do that, no one can watch the 600, 700 kids who are not taking the test. So it's really been
A through H on the consent agenda. As always, if anybody would like to remove one for further discussion, we can do that. We can take them all at once. We've seen all these before. The only one we haven't seen in great detail is the beverage. I guess if you have exception with that, we can pull it and go with Gatorade or something, but if you're okay with Pepsi, then we can leave it. Does anybody want to pull one? Are there any questions on any of them for Dr. Davis? Want to make sure I point out D is approval of the amended budget for the 2017-18 school year. You see it there. So, would anybody have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Have a motion? Second by Mr. Brown. Last chance. All in favor? And it passes 6-0. Okay, closed session, you see, I think you should all have in front of you the personnel report. If anybody sees any reason to go into closed session, we can do that. But I think Dr. Biggins says that's the only thing we have to discuss, so if everybody's okay, we won't need to go back in closed session.
Just need to make sure it's stated in the minutes that we did not go into closed session.
Okay, so we won't go back. We will just take a motion for approval of the personnel report as presented to us.
So moved.
Have a motion? Second by Ms. Haynes. All in favor? And that passes 6-0. Which brings us back to item 9, if anybody has anything they'd like to say. This, y'all want to talk?
Oh, really? I would like to say to all of those who are skeptical about the way that the board conducts its business, I think you have to look back more than just these past 2 years if you're going to actually rate us as a board. You need to look at the years before that. There was a year just before when we did give teachers a raise. It was not accounted for as it should have been, but we did give that raise. The following year, we could not afford to do that. But what you need to do is, if you have, I think that anybody who has a complaint, a legitimate complaint, where you want to mention a name, Dr. Liggins is always there. He can answer your questions for you. When you want to mention a name, or you have something that is the thing that you want to do, you want to get that out, that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it. That's all I have to say.
I think it needs to be said that we are grateful that Dr. Liggins is here, and we're grateful for the changes that he made last year so that our instruction can be improved. And we're looking forward to even more.
Okay, future agenda items? Is there anything special?
Yes, I have provided for you to consider the year in advance 2018-19 school board meeting agenda. As you'll see, we have September, I propose that we have a strategic plan update. I also propose in November that we have a team of 8 training. I've scheduled that strategically for after the election so that all 7 elected board members will be on board. Of course, in January, it's the superintendent's evaluation. In April, a special meeting for maintenance and operations update. And then in June, of course, we're in budgeting season again, and so budget workshop. Other than that, I don't foresee us needing to have any additional meetings other than our regular ones.
I wonder, I wonder if we could move the maintenance and operations up to March,
To March?
to at least, or
Yeah, and
February, I'd say February, that'd be 2 months in a row, is that too much?
and that's why it's spaced out, but I'm okay with whatever you guys want to do.
To me, that's pretty important. I thought we were gonna kind of see it in this fall, but I don't know, I'd like to see it before April, I'd like to see it well before budget. And April is almost to February, they do 2 in a row. Would that be okay?
Unless it's very flexible.
We got a regular meeting in February. Is there no call meeting?
None in
No,
February.
we're saying move the one in April, move it up and do it in February. That'd be 2, yeah, 2, is that?
Okay, I'll move that, and I'll send out an updated list to you all. We'll just make sure not to do it on Valentine's Day, so you guys can be home with your sweethearts.
Okay, if there's nothing else,